return on capital employed. That's what today's quick video is going to be on. So return on capital employed is a fantastic metric that we need to track if obviously you're looking to increase the efficiency and profitability of your portfolio. My name's Dervish. I'm an investor in property since 2007. I'm the founder of the Black Belt Property Academy. If you like this video, then hit the subscribe button. So return on capital employed, I'm going a bit old school here with a flip chart, okay? So if you've done any type of reading or anything like that, read blogs or anything, you may have come across return on capital employed. Now, it's likely you've heard of things like yield, gross yield, net yield, ROI, return on investment. However, when I speak to new white belt investors, some of them, which is fine, have never heard of return on capital employed. So if you're one of those, well done for watching this video, well done for getting a minute in or so on, but hopefully it should provide you with some value. So what does that stand for? Obviously, from here now, I'd like to apologize about my handwriting. So return, there we go. I will try and write neater, just like I try to smile more on my videos. On, and then C is the capital, and I should have been a doctor, shouldn't I, really, with this? Return on capital employed. Okay, so again, please forgive my handwriting, but return on capital employed is ROCE. Now, that essentially means the return that you're getting the return that you're getting based on the amount of money you've still left in a deal. So for instance, now, like I said, I've been investing since 2007, did many things wrong during the first few years before the financial crash and so on. And I didn't know about return on capital employed or anything. Now, as a result, our return on capital employed was ridiculously low. We'd put 25% deposit in and then obviously just get the cash flow from the rent each and every month when we got decent tenants in. So I'd hate to try to work out what it was in the early days. However, every deal we've done since about 2014-15, we've definitely tracked this metric because it gives you an idea of what is the interest rate of your savings account or anything like that. Most people say, well, it's 1.5%, 2%, 3%, 4%, whatever it is. On a side note, though, remember that money in the bank hardly ever beats inflation. Okay, so just a little side note there. So return on capital employed is how much return from your money are you getting based on the money that you've still left in the deal. So for argument's sake, if you've just purchased a property at £100,000, it's very unlikely that you put in all £100,000. You're likely to have put in 25% deposit, which is 25,000, plus then maybe the stamp duty, which is probably about 4,000 or 5,000, then the legals, and then other bits and pieces and so on. So your capital employed there, the amount of money you've left in might be 30, 31, 32,000 pounds. Now, for you, if you're doing the, I'll just go off here on one, BRRR, which is a fantastic strategy. Okay, for those of you that haven't heard about that before, that's when you buy the property, refurbish it, renovate it, refinance, then rent out. That's where you can get your best return on capital employed. So from the few that we've done this year, thinking back to the last one we did, which is going through refinancing now, we're probably scheduled to have about £11,500 of our own money left in that deal. Now, some people go, that's a lot of money. Well, it's not really, considering the asset over the long term is going to go up in value and provide us with cash flow each and every month. Again, it's not going to be 100% of the time, but in the long run, it's going to be occupied and we are going to get rent for it. And hopefully, like I said, following the property cycle, it will increase over time. So return on capital employed is basically the return you're expected to get based on the amount of money you've still left in the deal. Now, I'm going to go on to this later, but if you've done the BRRR strategy and you pulled out lots of your money, most, some of it, all of it, then obviously your return on capital employed will be a lot higher than if you just dumped 25% in and left it there. Now, I'm going to go over and just do a couple of examples here. Again, old school here. So, with these two examples, I want to be able to get across really the difference it makes in your return on capital employed percentage if the cash flow is reduced or increased and the amount of money that you leave in is increased or reduced and so on. So let's do example 1 there. Okay, so we'll say that it has a cash flow of £250 per calendar month. Now, what we'll need to do then is obviously multiply that by 12, and then we will divide all of this based on that we've got 20,000 still left in the deal. Okay, so the cash flow there, £250 per calendar month times 12. I think my maths there is 3,000, something like that. 3,000. Now, some people might be thinking, well, it's not always going to be cash flow of £250 a month. No, it's not, okay? Like any business, there's going to be ups and downs. You might need to make sure you've got your gas saved to run that month. There may be a void period of pretty much 6-8 weeks, depending on which type of area you've invested in. You may also have, what's just happened to one of our properties, you need to replace the boiler. So there's £1,200-1,300 gone. So these things do happen. Property isn't a foolproof business model. However, you've got to look at it strategically. And again, that's what I help our mentees with. We want to make sure that they move from new white belt investor through to confident black belt investors. Like I said, make sure you subscribe to this channel and maybe check out the website. My name is dervishdervish.com. And then have a look at the Black Belt Property Accelerator or the Black Belt Property Academy. So I'm going to there now do maths, getting out, and I was going to say an old school calculator. It's not an old school calculator, but it should still provide us with the same thing there. So 250 multiplied by 12 is 3,000. That's how much money we should have at the end of the year, really. Divided by 20,000 is 15, 0.15. Okay, so that comes to 15%. Now, for us, at the stage we're at, especially if it's just your bread and butter 2-bed terrace or anything like that, we'd want a higher return on capital employed than that. But there's lots of, and again, I'm going to mention this later on, there's lots of variables in how to manipulate and improve that return on capital employed. But if somebody said to me, would you leave £20,000 in a property and get a return of 15% year on year? I'm of course going to say yeah, because imagine it this way: you put £20,000 in just a bog standard savings account. There is absolutely no way that that's going to return that much. Now, some people might say, well, I'm going to get that in crypto, I'm going to get that in Forex. That's entirely up to you. This video is about property investing and obviously return on capital employed. Now, let's go for example number 2. Now, the variables in this, we're going to have less cash flow, CF, and we're going to have more money left in. Okay, so we'll pretty much use the same things. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to say, right, well, this one now is only cash flowing, it's only £50 less, £200 per calendar month times 12 equals that. And then, because we may not have bought properly, or because we might have spent a little bit more on the refurb, or we might not have been able to increase the value as much as we wanted to, we may have had to leave £30,000 in. I'll put a pound sign there. Okay, so now we'll see what happens with this return on capital employed with £50 less per calendar month there and leaving an extra £10,000 in. Now, do you think it's going to go up or do you think it's going to go down? Okay, I think we both know what's going to happen here. Again, let's go for this now. Let's see. So it is 200 multiplied by 12, 2,400, obviously. Let's get that there. So it's now cash flow 2,400. There we go. It's there. I'll do that actually. Apologies to any maths people out there that are saying I shouldn't be presenting it like this and so on, but it's just mainly to give you the idea. Divided by 30, 1, 2, 3, and the return on capital employed now is just 8%. So this is what we do on the Black Belt Property Academy. We take white belt new investors, just as I did do with my martial arts school. And again, if you haven't read my book or read the blogs or watched any of these other videos, like I said, I've been investing since 2007. However, at the time of this, I'm a 6th-degree black belt and I built up a very successful martial arts school. And what we do now is with white belt investors, the same way that we helped many. I've taught over 10,000 students in 20 years. Across 20 years, we help them step by step move through each property belt level because we understand how to teach people and so on. We want to make sure that they move from white belt through to mastery. So there's two differences there, isn't there? You've got either 8% or 15% there. So hopefully now I'm still going to talk for another minute or so. Hopefully you understand a little bit more about return on capital employed. Apologies if I've jumped around a little bit there, but it should have helped you a little bit more. So what you should be doing is, even if you don't want to enroll onto the Black Belt Property Academy, you should be understanding, I need to make sure my money's working well for me here. I need to make sure that I'm not just dumping lots of money into this property in the hope that it might get a return. I mentioned this to a lot of the new mentees, especially during the beginner stages. Purchasing £100,000 property and another £100,000 property does not mean you're going to get the same return on investment, the same return on capital employed, or the same uplift. Okay, again, it's all down to knowledge and experience. Last bit here now then, okay, so other questions they'll say, right, well, what, I'll try to write in capitals, what is a good, say what, my handwriting hasn't improved since my lecturing days, return on capital employed? That depends on you and your why. Not me and my why, it depends on you and your why. If you've got a very successful business and you're just looking to shift profits from a bank account or anything like that, a savings account, because you know they're not working as well as they could be in a property, then again your return on capital employed might not be as you might not want it to be as high as somebody who's just getting into property and wants to make sure that they're benefiting from the capital uplift as well as the cash flow. Okay, so what's a good return on capital employed? For us, we look at a minimum. And again, that's an absolute bare minimum. It's normally, touching above 35 and so on, 40, 50%. That's a bare minimum, okay? But again, it's entirely up to you. What are the variables then? Okay, so how can you improve your return on capital employed? You can, one, make sure you buy properly. So you want to lock in profit from day one. As soon as you pick up the keys, you've bought equity. So the last one that we finished now, we purchased it at 75 and it was up for 99. Now that might not seem a lot in numerical values, it's 25,000, but it's 25% off in a rising market, a quite rapidly rising market, okay? Other ones we've done, I'm just trying to think of other ones we did. Maybe at the start of the year, I think around about February, we purchased one for 110 and it was up for 160. Then it dropped to 150 after a sale fell through, then 150 to 140 after another sale fell through. Again, motivated to sell. We bought from the agent before, so we were lucky enough to secure it at 110. That was the easiest property that we've ever done, really, because it didn't need any type of refurb, just a couple of little things here and there, painting. There was no kitchen, no bathroom needed, no new gas central heating system, no new roof needed or anything like that. So that was a really good buy, touch wood so far. So your variables, picking up the keys at the right price or agreeing a sell price at the right price. Carrying out a refurb based on your end user and obviously making sure that the amount of money you spend is bringing it up to a certain level and understanding that there's going to be a ceiling price that you want to maybe just push through. But if you were to spend £100,000 on a £100,000 terrace in our investment area, I can't really say 100,000, they're not really going for that anymore, but for math's sakes, that terrace is not likely to be worth £200,000 if it's in the row of other terrace properties. So there's always going to be a limit as to what you can achieve. However, if it's a bigger property like a 3-bed semi, or you're going into your detached properties, then you're going to have more scope. Those are fantastic for flipping. B-triplars do still work on them, but they're definitely preferable for flipping for your lumps of cash that they can then reinvest in. So variables to cover one more time. You want to make sure that you're bringing in the refurb on time within budget. You want to make sure that you're getting a good uplift in value, again, down to the refurb and also down to your purchase price. And then making sure, really, your return on capital employed is going to fluctuate. Because I went back to those examples there where the return on capital employed was, £3,000 there, cash flow. If you have a boiler and that's going to cost you £1,500, then your cash flow is halved, obviously. So the return on capital employed will fluctuate. Anyway, my name's Dervish. Like I said, I've been investing since 2007. We've got a nice, decent sized portfolio, cash producing and so on. Mainly, a large chunk of it is your boring vanilla buy to lets. That's the long term legacy piece. Okay. Now, if you've liked the content today, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you like the video as well. And maybe check out the website, dervishdervish.com. Have a look at the Black Belt Property Academy. Like I said, we take white belt new investors through to confident black belt investors. Okay. It's not just information dump like lots of course providers do. This is about transformation. We want to see people come in at a certain level and then achieve the property belts and move from one stage to the other, beginner, intermediate, advanced, and so on, black belt. Anyway, good luck. Keep taking steps further forward. I hope this made sense and I hope you could somehow read my scruffy handwriting. Take care and I hope to see you soon. All the best.